Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
Welcome to episode 35 of Talk Smart with
Pugh.
I'm McCart. That is young Joe Pugh over there, and I'm Andrew McCart. Joe, relatively quiet fight week in terms of fights and big shows and whatnot, but we did have two extremely exciting press conferences in Edinburgh and Manchester to start the week. We had Podrick McCrory out there in Orlando fighting Edgar Berlanga. We'll touch on that. And there's been all little snippets on Twitter in terms of fighters going at each other, Ben and Davis and Keyshawn Davis, Adam Azim, Dalton Smith and Andy Cruz. Do you know what I mean? So there's still things to talk about, but I think let's start at the beginning of the week. Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall just continued their what's the word? Hatred is a strong word, and they both said this, but their bitterness towards each other. It started in Edinburgh with the face-to-face when Josh went to grab his nipples a little bit, and then Jack went to hit him again. And you know what I mean? These two, I think this is going to be an exciting fight. I think we're in for a cracker because of this press conference, because of everything that's on the line here. Do you know what I mean? After the first fight, after the first two press conferences we've had, you were in Manchester, you witnessed it firsthand as well as I did in Edinburgh. It sold out within what hours? 12,000 people.
4 hours, I think it was.
4 hours. You know what I mean? So that to me says it's a huge fight. It's hard for me because like people think I've got a horse in this race because I'm mates with Josh Taylor. But I'll ask you the question then from maybe a guy that's probably who doesn't really have a horse in the race, if anything. Your thoughts on the fight, Joe?
Oh, it's just great, and it just very a throwback fight in the fact that we're getting these press conferences, we're getting a proper bit of British beef, and it's a great example of a fight that was the first fight for all the marbles, and now it's not for any world title, but it doesn't actually matter because it's going to be watched by probably more people than most world title fights this year, certainly in the UK. Absolutely fantastic job of promoting it. Both guys done. All right, well, I want to say a few of the guys, stick Sam Jones in there as well for his performance, especially on the first press conference, but throughout the week, starting off in Scotland. I know you was there, then absolutely unbelievable atmosphere in Manchester. Well, I got to experience anyway. I've seen it was better atmosphere than most fight nights you go to now. It was a cauldron of hate against Josh Taylor. And then we go forward to the next day and we see the Talk Sport interview. We finally get a handshake. It's just an excellent promotion. And we've still got, what is it, 8.5, 9 weeks?
9 weeks
until the fight actually comes off. And I absolutely can't wait. Leeds, April, we're there.
Definitely. And you mentioned there that the first fight was for all the marbles, but this rematch is, I would say it's bigger than the first fight with no belts on the line.
Pride.
Just because it's what's on stake and it's bragging rights. Do you know what I mean? Josh thought he won the first fight. A lot of people thought that Jack won the fight, including guys in the media and whatnot. But Josh has stuck to his ground, saying that Jack was spoiling tactics and all this, that, and the next thing. But all that stuff in the first fights, I think just push that to the one side now. Let's just concentrate on this fight. And if whoever wins, hand them their flowers and let them be the winner. Let them celebrate. Let them go on their little media tour after it as well. But as long as we get a decisive winner, do you know what I mean? I think that's what the fans are wanting. I think that's what boxing probably wants as well in terms of this fight. But I think everyone needs a good dance partner. Do you know what I mean? And I think we've got a great fight because both fighters, I don't think they're polar opposites, but they're different in terms of, I don't know, it's just their demeanors, their personalities are a lot different. Joe. Jack is a little bit more laid back, doesn't really say much, doesn't really get heated in terms of his voice, gets angry and he does this and the next thing. Josh has always been a fiery cracker, a firecracker, do you know what I mean? A fiery character. I've noticed that when I used to train in the gym with him when he was a young amateur, he was always very, very fiery, and that's what made Josh. Do you know what I mean? And I'm absolutely buzzing for this fight. Sold out 12,000. I've been inundated for tickets, and I've got enough. All my mates texting me for tickets left, right, and centre. I think I probably sold about $5,000 worth of tickets myself, so I've got no no commission on that, but who cares? It's going to be a massive fight, and I cannot, and I'm going to emphasize this, cannot wait for this fight. I wasn't at the first fight because my daughter was born, so I'm going to go in and really, really look forward to this fight. It's one of the fights I'm looking forward to probably in a long time. Do you know what I mean? It's really, I'm really, really buzzing for it. And the winner goes on, and I think there's going to be a final eliminator. I think Eddie's pushing for a final eliminator or some sort for one of the belts, and the winner can push on. And the loser, that's probably a question I'm going to ask you then, Joe. The loser, are they finished? Can they come back?
I think maybe stakes are higher from a losing point of view for Josh Taylor, off the back of two of his probably worst performances at the highest level in those World Championship fights. He'll be the first to admit they weren't his best performances, and I know there's been certain changes now. I think he's saying he's going to make the weight better. So I think there's probably a little bit more of the line in terms of career for Josh Taylor, because he's been there and seen it and done it. Jack Catterall, it'll be interesting to see where he goes, because Josh Taylor, a big point he's made throughout the week is that Jack's actually the one who really struggles with the weight. So could we see him move up? I really don't know. I think it's a fight where it's at such a level that the winner can always come back, maybe take one or two steps backwards and then build them way up. But yeah, I think a little bit more on the line in terms of career moves for Josh Taylor. Would you agree?
I would think so, yeah. I think over the Josh's last fight coming off that loss to Teo, a second defeat back to back will probably. Yeah, I think the losing for Josh, it's more at stake. There's more at stake for Josh in terms of a loss. Do you know what I mean? He really needs this win to propel him forward again in his career. I think becoming a two-time, possibly a two-way. I think this will definitely 110%, if you can get 110%, be his last fight at 140. I was surprised that Josh went for 140. I think Jack and Sam have said it's a ready-made excuse, but I think Josh is probably like, you know what? I'm going to make everything the same so I can prove to you that I can beat you, or do it again at 140 in his own words that he said to me. But yeah, I think Jack, if he wins, he needs his shot at the world title. Do you know what I mean? I think Jack deserves his crack at a world title. Do you know what I mean? It's been another one, whether that be at Devin Haney, Sabril Matias. He's with Eddie Hearn now, so that'll be an easy fight to make for the IBF. I don't know where Jack sits in them rankings. Do you know what I mean? So he's definitely, if Jack wins, he can definitely get a crack at a world title, because Devin Haney is that sort of free agent type. He works with Eddie Hearn. He likes working with Eddie Hearn. So Jack, if he wins, he's got those two fighters right there who are working with Eddie, the IBF and the WBC. Right now, who's the WBO? Teo. Aye, he lost against. Aye, he won't beat Josh, but that's correct. Aye, see, I put that at the back of my mind there. Yeah, Teo's with Top Rank, so that'll probably be a difficult fight to make in terms of cross promotions, even though Eddie and Bob have worked together. So yeah, Jack, he wins this fight, he gets a world title shot. Josh, I think, will, if he wins this fight, goes up to 147. I think that's a definite given this time, and being that Crawford holds all the belts up there, I don't know what's going to happen in terms of Josh's next fight. He definitely is a good fight at 147, but like I say, it's a fight that I'm absolutely looking forward to, and I cannot wait. And yeah, it's a fight that we'll probably be talking about in this podcast for weeks to come, because I'm sure something will pop up on Twitter, or something happened in the camps, or something have been said on Twitter. So it's going to be one that me and you will discuss for the next 9 weeks or so. So it'll definitely be interesting. But let's make a little segue over to Orlando. Edgar Berlanga and Paddy Islands, Paddy McCrory. Paddy I've known for a long time. I've been at loads of his fights when he was coming through the Falls Park, the Ulster Hall, the Titanic Centre over in Belfast. And to see him get his big shot out in Orlando, get a US fight date, man, I'm happy for him in that sense. But I think he was a clear underdog going into this fight against Edgar Berlanga. But I tell you what, he's a game man. He was tough. And yeah, it was difficult task, difficult ask for Paddy, but I'm happy he got that opportunity, because I think he's worked hard his whole career to get a shot at Edgar Berlanga. But I just want to give my props to Paddy, because he is, on a personal level, I know him very, very well. But Your thoughts on the fight then, Joe? Edgar Berlanga, man, what a monster! I mean, what a monster he is.
Yeah, echo the words about Buddy McCory. Definitely deserved his chance, his big chance in Orlando against a big name and an upcoming beast in Edgar Berlanga, and what he was last night. Just shown, I think, the power, just shown that pressure that he puts on, and I want to see him in a really big fight now. I think he's very high up, may even be mandatory with one of the governing bodies after that fight. And I
WBA,
really,
yeah, number
he's
one.
WBA, yeah. I really want to see him in a big fight. I know they're talking about potential Munguia Canelo. Why not have a final eliminator type thing of Berlanga, Munguia, and the winner fights Canelo? I think that'd be an unbelievable fight. And then the winner gets Canelo.
Yeah, that fight just excites me, Munguia and Berlanga.
Yeah.
I mean, like again, stereotypes. Who cares? I don't really care, but you can stereotype it. You got the Puerto Rican, Mexican rivalry, man. We all know them fights. They produce the goods. None of them want to lose. Then you've got the high knockout ratio. Watch Berlanga, 22 and 16, 17, 18 knockouts, whatever it may be. Jaime Munguia is 30 plus fights with 20 or 30 plus knockouts. They've only gone the distance between them, and I think they share about 50 odd fights, 60 fights between them. I think they've gone the distance between them maybe 7, 8 times. I've not done the maths on this, so don't quote me on this. Don't come and say, Andrew, you're a moron. You've not done your stats. I'm just going off what I remember seeing on BoxRec. So it's one of the fights where it's going to just be a fan-friendly fight. I just think it just makes sense if you've got two young men, they're about the same age, mid-20s as well. Do you know what I mean? And it just makes a lot of sense. And that the winner gets Canelo, like you said. I think that's a great shout. There's that little carrot dangling at the end of this fight, which is going to make you fight harder. It might not be for a world title, but the carrot at the end of it is an 8-figure payday against Canelo for a world title. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I just love that fight, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to mention it myself, Joe. And I just think that just makes a lot of sense. Why not? Both on DAZN.
But yeah, I just think it makes perfect sense. There's so many great super middleweights out there at the minute, and don't get me wrong, I know everyone wants not just the golden ticket financially, but the golden ticket in attempting greatness by getting a chance to beat an all-time great in Canelo. But there are other great fights to be made. If you aren't fighting Canelo, don't just sit around and wait. Have these really big fights. We saw it last year with Caleb Plant and David Benavidez. Key example of a super middle fight that can happen whilst you're waiting. And hopefully, obviously, we want Benavidez, who won that fight, to fight Canelo at some point this year. But if not, Benavidez Berlanga, Benavidez Munguia, any of these kind of combinations of these big, seems like Mexican, Puerto Ricans at super middleweight. I don't know how they breed them over there, but yeah, be excellent fights to be made at that super middleweight division.
That's it. It's always been a marquee division as well. We remember Nigel Benz, Chris Eubank Jr.'s, Roy Jones Jr., Chris Eubank Sr., not Jr., Roy Jones Jr., Carl Zaggy, Carl Froch, Andre Ward. You know what I mean? There's been that super middleweight division has had household names over the decades. And I think with Canelo getting on a little bit, you've got them Jaime Munguia's, David Benavidez's, and Berlanga's. They're the rising stars. They can be that next household name in that super middleweight division if they fight each other. But you want them to fight each other. You want them to be like the Chris Eubank Jr., Steve Collins, and Nigel Benz. Do you know what I mean? They had rematches because the fights were that good. Do you know what I mean? Why not just be them guys? Why not just like put your own on the line? Who cares about like this Mayweather effect that people call it nowadays, where they're protecting their own, but give the fans what they want to see. And like we've touched on it before, Joe, we're starting to see it now in boxing where the fights are getting made and fighters are starting to learn that the O doesn't define you as a fighter. Do you know what I mean? Not many people retire undefeated, but great fighters like Sugar Ray Leonard didn't, Muhammad Ali didn't, Duran, Hagler, Hearns, these fighters, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, these fights, Anthony Joshua, modern, he's going to be a great heavyweight. He can go down as a good heavyweight, great heavyweight. He's lost 3 times. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't define you as a fighter, so let's just get these fights made.
Yeah, and as you say, I think it's happening now. You look back over history books, and there's only a very, very select handful of world champions that remain undefeated for their whole career. And a lot of them probably aren't even mentioned, excluding Mayweather, Calzaghe. A lot of them probably ain't even mentioned as in the world champions that we talk about, the Hagler, the Hearns, the Leonards. Yeah, so it certainly don't define anyone. Hopefully we get these big fights, especially in the super middleweight division, what we've been speaking about today, on this year. Go on, Andrew.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, talking about Canelo there, that super middleweight division, there was there's now rumors I saw online, was it yesterday or the day before, about him, Chris Eubank Jr.'s name getting thrown in the hat to fight Canelo in May?
I think it's always been a possibility because we know the name value of Junior, about potentially when it was kind of whispers of bringing Canelo over here. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen in May. But yeah, I think because of the name value and because of what Chris Eubank Jr. brings on a commercial level, it's always going to be there. And if you can't make the big fights, you never know. It could be a possibility.
Well, we've seen Ryder get a shot at Canelo. Do you know what I mean? We've seen all these fighters get their shot. These even just look at McCrory against Berlanga. That's probably a fight that you didn't think was going to happen in that super middleweight division. But these fighters are getting the opportunity that you didn't think they would get the opportunity. You never put Chris Eubank Jr. and Canelo together. But boxing's a crazy old sport. We might just see it. Who knows? And that Eubank name carries. Do you know what I mean? It carries a lot of weight, whether you like it or not.
And he loves fighting a Brit as well, Canelo.
Exactly. What is he? 7-8-0 against the Brit?
He might be 8-0 now. I think
8-0 against the Brit. And yeah, I think it makes sense in terms of maybe a commercially it makes sense because Eubank is that sort of name. He's obviously coming off a good win against Liam Smith. He trains alongside Bomac, you know what I mean, who's known in America. And we've had obviously, I think it is PBC, well, there was rumours of PBC making a $55 million push for Canelo to fight Benavidez, but that was squashed by Eddie Reynoso, who's Canelo's trainer. I don't think he's going to fight Jaime Munguia because he's mentioned about these Mexican, he doesn't want to fight Mexico versus Mexico. So when you say that, who's out there? Who's left in the super middleweight division? Really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
it's Charlo. Does Charlo excite you?
Yeah, Charlo, but I don't think PBC want that, do they? Do they?
I think we will get the Charlo fight. To be honest,
I think we'll get the Charlo fight. Yeah, but I think with PBC, well, I don't know if PBC didn't. But it's been squashed. The rumors of a $55 million payday for Canelo if he fought Benavidez. But I think Canelo he's at that stage now in his career where, or that he's got that power now in his career where he just fights who he wants to fight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And listen, I would not be surprised if it turns out to be Chris Eubank Jr. Let's say that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
No,
I would not be surprised. Talking about like these Twitter wars and whatnot and things that you see on Twitter and Instagram, we've got this sort of like Tank versus Conor Benn thing that's still going on.
Yeah.
That's a fight that I probably would like to see because Tank's, even though Tank's a tank, let's say, like, Gervonta Davis is a monster, but he's a small monster, right? Conor Benn's a big welterweight. Where would this fight be? Would you get it at catch weight? Would it be 147? Would Tank come up to 147? Is he big enough for 147? There's a lot of questions to be asked in that sense, but it seems that there's going to be a back and forth between them two for a wee while now. I think Eddie likes to fight. Conor Benn likes to fight. Gervonta Davis has said, where's this 25 million coming from? And I think he put out a tweet or an email along them lines and that. But yeah, I don't know. Can you see this fight happening, Joe? Is it a fight that you can see? I know we've talked about being surprised that Chris Eubank Jr. we won't be surprised if Chris Eubank Jr. gets Canelo fight, but will you be surprised if Conor Benn fights Gervonta Davis and that fight gets made?
Yeah, I will be. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll be completely honest. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Gervonta Tank Davis over the years has shown no sign in really wanting to work with Eddie, and he's shares his emails, he shares his DMs. And yeah, I just don't think that fight. It might happen in the future, but next for both these guys, I don't think it's going to happen. So yeah, I kind of squashed that one for you.
Okay, moving on.
No.
Moving on. Keyshawn Davis, Adam Azim, Dalton Smith, Andy Cruz. Well, let's just start with this. Obviously, I think Adam Azim called out Keyshawn Davis, or was it vice versa? I've had a busy weekend with my daughter's birthday, so I can't remember who called who out. I think it was Adam Azim called out
I
Keyshawn
think
Davis.
it was Adam. I think it was Adam.
Yeah, but then obviously there's the Dalton Smith fight that's there. And I think Eddie said, listen, why would you call out Keyshawn when there's a mandatory for your European title with Dalton Smith, and we can make that a big fight. A lot's been made of Adam Azim maybe being scared of Dalton Smith. I don't know. I don't know if that's a fact and that's running through Adam Azim's head, because I don't think as a fighter you're scared to fight anyone. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't, anyone that puts gloves on, steps through a rope in front of thousands of people ain't scared to fight, no matter who it is. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think Adam Azim is scared of Dalton Smith, but I don't know why that fight can't be made, because we're talking about, again, I say it all the time, we just touched on Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall, perfect dance partners. We talked about that British title and British rivalries and British fighters fighting for a title, whether it be for the British, European, or world title. We get these fantastic fights. Again, we've spoke about it. Boazzi and Aziz, Dylan and Bellotti a couple of weeks ago. But when you get these guys, British fighters, on the big stage, fighting for whether it be a European British title, Joe, you know what I'm going to say? We get a war. We get a great fight. I keep harping on about it, but it's just facts. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know why that fight can't be made. I know that you've got Sky Sports and DAZN and Ben Shalom and Eddie. There's a sticking point there, but yeah, where do you sit on it?
Well, I think there's a simple solution. I just think let the Dalton Smith and Adam Azim fight happen, and let the Keyshawn Davis and Andy Cruz fight happen. Just make that. There you go. You don't really need to make any other fights until them fights have happened. Talk about Sky, the Zone, Matchroom Boxer. Simple. It just goes to purse bids. Just the winner of the purse bid gets the fight. That's how purse bids work. Let it happen. Let it play out, and let's see who wins. Let's see what platform it goes on. Do we really care? No, as long as we see the fight. So, two great fights there that I think we defo need to see. Keyshawn versus Andy Cruz. It's one of those. They're both fights where it could happen now, and it could be absolutely massive if you wait a couple of years. But then again, you can never predict the future, and the time might have passed for these couple of years. So you're always waiting. Do you risk and go, or do you bust? But no time like the present, and just hopefully make them two separate fights: Dalton Smith versus Adam Azim and Keyshawn Davis versus Andy Cruz.
Yeah, and I'll just say a wee pace. If it goes to purse bids, I think that both Sky and Eddie will want that fight. So I think both fighters will get paid handsomely, Smith and Azim. If they, you know what I mean, it's going to be a massive, massive payday. I think Eddie's touched on it going to the Sheffield Wednesday's ground.
Hillsborough.
Yeah, there you go. You know better than me. Hillsborough. If it can be a stadium fight, why not? I don't know if it can be a stadium fight. Is it big enough for a stadium fight? Who knows?
I don't know Hillsborough's capacity, to be honest. I'll be completely.
I suppose, yeah, that's very true. I'm going to guess it's probably 20-something thousand. I'm just going to guess. Yeah, they're going to get paid handsomely if it goes to purse bids, and because I think, like I said, both Eddie and Ben Sky Boxer, they'll want this fight. I'm going on to Andy Cruz and Keyshawn Davis. Like we've seen amateurs stay in amateur ranks too long. Like Lomachenko isn't that guy, and Usyk isn't that guy, and probably Andy Cruz isn't that guy. But some amateurs that stay in the amateur game too long don't really transition to the pro game that well. I think like you look at guys like maybe Tom Stalker as well. He comes to mind. Paddy Barnes, he comes to mind. These guys were absolutely fantastic, elite amateurs, winning Olympic medals and Commonwealth Games medals and World Championship bronzes and European medals and whatnot. So, but then the transition to the pro ranks has been difficult for them because they've stayed in that amateur system too long. Andy Cruz, I think, is not going to be that guy. I don't think he is that guy, but Keyshawn Davis seems to be an absolute monster in the pro ranks. Do you know what I mean? So I think even though you've got those three-minute rounds in the amateur game, I think Andy Cruz beat Keyshawn Davis in the Olympic Games.
I think Andy Cruz beat him a fair few times, I think.
A couple of times now, hasn't it?
Yeah, as Eddie says quite often.
Split decision, though. I think was the Olympics a split decision?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm
There
not
was a
100.
time, I think that the Olympics was a split decision, so it's been close. But like I say to you, Keyshawn Davis, he looks like a solid pro. Do you know what I mean? I think he called out Teofimo Lopez a couple of weeks ago after his fight.
Yeah.
Again, amateur boxing and pro boxing are two different sports. Do you know what I mean? Two different sports. So it's a fight I want to see. I think it'll be an absolutely great fight. And like you say, just get the fights made. I wish me and you I wish me and you had our own promoters company, Joe. I think me and you would get fights made like this.
Well, we'd have to have pretty big backers because I don't think our
Big,
pockets are deep enough to make them purses, mate.
no. It's a dream. It's a dream. What would we call the promotional company? Talk Smart with Pure McCart Promotions.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. Pure McCart, the Scotsman and the Essex boy.
Yeah,
But
man.
that's just to finish up then.
Yep.
Andy, fight this week upcoming that I will be attending to on Friday night. Absolute cracker. Cannot wait for this. I don't think it cannot not be a good fight. And that is Sam Egerton versus Abbas Barrow for the European title. That's going to be absolutely brilliant on Channel 5 on Friday night.
Good. And then we know Sam Egerton, the way he fights. Do you know what I mean? And we know Abbas is probably the same. I mean, he fights similar to that, where he wants to get, like, put it this way, both of them like a tear up.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Were you in Bolton for the Atwee Cartwright?
I weren't there, unfortunately.
No,
I think
you were at that one. That was Oscar was at that one.
Yeah.
I can see it being similar to that sort of fight. One of them fights that it's just there that nobody's talking about, but you're going to be talking about because something might go viral. It's one of them fights. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get a fight that's on a Channel 5 show, but then something big happens and then everything just goes viral after. I think that's the type of. I think I want to get in for a cracking fight. And talk about crack. I want to give a shout out to Jay Harris as well.
Yes.
Conor Walker last night, winning the European title, British title. I think it was a Commonwealth title as well. 3 belts last night.
Yeah, it was Triple Crown.
Triple Crown, yeah. So fair play to Jay Harris last night and putting a great fight. Him and Conor Walker putting a great fight. So well done to the two of them. Yeah, but listen, I think you'll be in for a treat on Friday night. Joe, could I fly down to London on Saturday? The Saturday, because I'm be going to Saudi on the Sunday, for the Joshua. So we will probably have to do this on a Saturday and then try and push out and film this
that's
at
fine.
the airport in London. We'll film at the airport in London. Because nothing's happening on the Saturday night. Next Saturday, is there?
No.
So your Friday night show, we can talk about that. There you go. Works perfectly. We'll
That's
put it out there, Joe. But as always, mate, you know the score. Always appreciate seeing you on a Sunday. Do you know what I mean? It's always a pleasure to talk to you, young man. And yeah, I'll speak to you next Saturday then when I'm in down at Heathrow.
Yep, slightly different. And I'll speak to you from the airport, mate, and let the big fights commence after this week.
Let's do it, Joe. Well done, mate. I'll see you soon.
Cheers, mate. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Wall Street Memes Casino
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.